All right, gather round, you digital denizens, you ghouls of the algorithm, because if your brain isn't already a lukewarm bowl of oatmeal simmering in the toxic sludge of the internet, then you haven't been paying attention. We need to talk about Bobbi Althoff, and by talk, I mean perform an exorcism on whatever dark entity possessed the internet to declare this a comeback. A comeback? My colon has made more dignified comebacks after a regrettable burrito. Look, I get it. We're all starved for something, anything, that feels remotely authentic in this digital wasteland where every smile is sponsored and every tear is expertly angled for maximum engagement. But to herald Bobbi Althoff's recent resurgence as anything other than a slow, agonizing descent into the uncanny valley of manufactured content is to admit your brain has officially been deep-fried in TikTok trends and served with a side of existential dread. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion, except the train is made of perfectly sculpted Instagram filters and the tracks are paved with the shattered remnants of our collective attention spans. We're not just passengers anymore. We're the bewildered squirrels who keep darting in front of the engine, convinced we can outsmart the inevitable. Remember the initial buzz, the deadpan delivery, the awkward silences, the interviews that felt less like conversations and more like a hostage negotiation where the hostage was incredibly bored. It was different, like finding a single, perfectly still cockroach in a rave. Intriguing, unsettling, and you weren't entirely sure if it was brilliant or just a symptom of a larger infestation. And for a fleeting moment, a tiny, diluted part of my brain, the part that still believes in Santa Claus and genuine online interactions, thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the antidote to the saccharine, performative joy that oozes from every pore of every influencer. I was wrong. Oh, how beautifully, catastrophically wrong I was. The antidote was actually just more poison, administered with a slightly slower drip. Because what we're witnessing now isn't a comeback, it's a reanimated corpse, clumsily stitched together with brand deals and the desperate attempts to recapture that initial accidental magic. It's the digital equivalent of that one friend who tries to tell the same hilarious story for the 5th time, but now with added sound effects and a forced laugh track. The novelty has worn off faster than my motivation to do laundry on a Sunday. The deadpan has curdled into just dead. The awkwardness, once charmingly disruptive, now feels like a calculated move in a chess game where the only prize is continued relevance and the only loser is anyone with even a shred of genuine emotion left. Let's dissect this, shall we? This comeback. It's less a phoenix rising from the ashes and more a pigeon desperately trying to fly after being hit by a bus, flapping pathetically in a puddle of its own internal fluids. The initial allure was its unpolished nature, its almost anti-influencer vibe. It felt like she stumbled into fame, blinked in the harsh light, and just kept blinking. Now, it feels like she's read the marketing reports, consulted the algorithms, and strategized a return that is so overtly planned, it hurts my soul in a way only a 30-second unskippable ad can. And the interviews themselves? They've lost their edge. What was once genuinely off-kilter is now just flat. It's like someone took all the personality out of a sparkling water and then tried to sell it to me as artisanal tap water. The questions are still as mundane, but the responses lack that almost accidental brilliance, that flicker of, is she serious? That kept us glued to the screen, questioning our own sanity. Now, it's just a predictable script, a performance of disinterest, which, when performed, becomes the very thing it was initially subverting, a performance. It's a snake eating its own tail, except the snake is wearing designer athleisure, and the tail is a sponsored segment for a meal delivery service. And let's not even get started on the comments. The internet, bless its poisoned heart, is a hive mind of unparalleled mediocrity. The initial comments were a mix of confusion, fascination, and genuine amusement. Now, it's a monotonous drone of people either desperately trying to recreate her deadpan humor in the comments section, resulting in the digital equivalent of a broken record player, or people who are so deeply entrenched in parasocial relationships that they genuinely believe they're best friends with this woman. It's a digital echo chamber where the only sound is the collective sigh of a million brains slowly turning into mashed potatoes. The brain rot is real, people. It's not just a cute phrase, it's a diagnosis. We, as a collective online consciousness, have become so desensitized to genuine interaction that anything even slightly out of the ordinary gets immediately elevated to iconic status, only to be meticulously dissected, replicated, and ultimately drained of all life until it's just another husk floating in the digital ocean. We demand novelty, but then we punish anyone who provides it by forcing them into a mold until they become indistinguishable from the very thing things they once stood apart from. It's a vicious cycle, a digital Ouroboros of content creation and consumption, and we are all, every single one of us, slowly being digested. Her comeback feels like a desperate attempt to catch lightning in a bottle twice, only this time the bottle is sponsored by an energy drink, and the lightning is just a particularly aggressive strobe light. The magic is gone. It's been replaced by a calculated strategy to maintain relevance, to stay in the feeds, to keep the ad revenue flowing. And who can blame her, really? This is the internet, after all. Authenticity is a fleeting anomaly, quickly monetized and then discarded like yesterday's meme. We're all complicit in this, by the way. Every click, every share, every comment, even the ones dripping with ironic detachment, feeds the beast. We complain about the state of online content, but we keep scrolling, don't we? We keep engaging. We are the digital equivalent of rats in a Skinner box, pressing the lever for another hit of dopamine, even when the reward is just a slightly less horrible version of the same old content. Our brains are being rewired, sculpted by the algorithms, turning us into hyper-efficient content consumers, devoid of critical thought, perpetually seeking the next fleeting distraction. This isn't just about Bobbi Althoff. She's merely a symptom, a visible pustule on the festering wound that is modern internet culture. She's a mirror, reflecting our own desperate need for something, anything, that feels like a breath of fresh air in a room filled with carbon monoxide. But here's the kicker: the fresh air was just more carbon monoxide, slightly scented with irony, and now we're all just collectively dizzy, stumbling around in the fumes, convinced that the dizziness is a sign of enlightenment. The brain rot phenomenon is accelerating. We're moving beyond just passively consuming content. We're actively participating in the erosion of our own mental faculties. We seek out cursed content, we embrace cringe, not because we genuinely enjoy it, but because it feels like a necessary inoculation against the overwhelming blandness. It's a digital masochism where we intentionally expose ourselves to the most insipid corners of the internet just to feel something. And Bobbi Althoff's comeback is just another serving on this grim buffet of digital despair. It's not horrible in the traditional sense, it's horrible in the way that makes you question the very fabric of reality, the way that makes you stare blankly at your screen, wondering if your soul has finally evaporated into the ether. So what's the solution? Is there one? Or are we doomed to endlessly scroll, our eyes glazed over, our minds slowly atrophying until we're just fleshy conduits for algorithmically generated content? I don't know. Maybe the answer is to just log off, touch grass, talk to a human being without the mediated filter of a screen. But who am I kidding? I'm saying this to a camera, to an audience of people whose brains are probably already 80% memes and 20% existential dread. I'm just as much a part of this digital circus as anyone else, a clown in the grand, depressing spectacle. Bobbi Althoff's comeback isn't horrible because she's bad at what she does. It's horrible because it perfectly encapsulates the hollow, performative nature of online existence. It's horrible because it holds a mirror up to our own insatiable desire for fleeting novelty and our collective inability to discern genuine connection from manufactured engagement. It's a testament to the fact that on the internet, everything eventually gets eaten by the algorithm, digested, and then regurgitated in a slightly more palatable yet utterly soul-crushing form. So, yeah, her comeback is horrible. But then again, so are we, so is the internet, so is the relentless march of time, slowly turning us all into content for the endless scroll. And I, for one, am just too tired to pretend otherwise. My brain, much like this video, is probably beyond saving. Thanks for watching, you pathetic, digitally addicted creatures. Now go forth and rot.